Hey, what are you doing here?
I'm drinking coffee, talking to you. I'm scanning the web. If you're going to train for something, you got to train for something.
Then I'd basically be qualified to suffer the massive climb and massive descent the rest of the way.
That's not fun anymore. But we don't have to just talk about ultra running, right?
Maybe I need to just shoot for the 100.
Do whatever. It's more fun. It's like less stressful too.
And then think about what did I step on along the way.
What? Did you just say what? That's pretty funny. See, I'm not doing 5 races a year now because I love my family. So great. It's wonderful. He's not doing his races. We feel so bad. Talk about anything we want. Like, did you wake up? Did you take a crap this morning? How was it? Things like that. I think that's all I want to really talk about is, we can involve a lot of people and maybe take some questions.
Yeah, this is the Ultra Diner.
The Ultra Diner. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Ultra Diner podcast, the show that is the sworn enemy of lying, pomposity, smugness, and... No, wait, that's not right. That's Tucker Carlson's show. No, we've got no moniker. We've got nothing. We don't know what we're doing, but we got a really cool guest today. I am Tony Forterra, and also here is my co-host, Ruel Abadam. And today we got a very special guest with us. Oh, yeah. Introduce yourself, Ruel. Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Today we do have a very special guest. Actually, it is our very first guest on the show. So the truth of the matter is we have no idea what we're doing. None whatsoever. And of course, we go ahead and we do the smartest thing we could possibly do. We pick a guy that's got his own podcast. So he's going to know like a million things more than we do. He's going to be smoother than we are. And it's going to just be a disaster. So here's the guy who has the Running Stupid podcast, who's also been on great podcasts like Ginger Runner. Mm-hmm. My good friend and yours, Ken Michal. Welcome, Ken, to the show.
Woo! Yay. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm pretty excited.
How about that for an intro, right? That was pretty good, huh?
Yeah, that was very nice.
Fantastic.
Very nice, yeah.
There you go. I've been practicing all freaking week for it.
Oh, nice. Well, it paid off for sure. But that's it too. Like it's real. So many things. If you just make the leap, the net will appear if it's meant to be, right? So yeah, cool. You don't need the show to be anything. Just jump out there and do it. I love that.
Listen, everybody has a podcast today. So, why not? Why not just have one? I mean, like, it's a perfect idea. It's a perfect idea. Well, it's really cool to have you on, actually.
Well, thank you.
You and I have been at many, many races together and probably haven't spoken as much as we should have. But it's awesome to have you on today and to hear a little bit more about your story and your journey and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So why don't we get started? I've got a million questions for you, But how'd you get into this crazy sport of ultra running? Like, where did it come from? What drove you to do it? Did you do marathons first? Did you just pop right into ultra marathons? Because you do a crap ton of ultra marathons a year.
Yeah, I do a pretty high volume for sure. For me, like I ran, I think 2 marathons before I discovered ultras. And the big thing was really I was a big heavy smoker for most of my life. Like 2.5 packs a day by the time I quit. I smoked for over 20 years. And when I quit smoking, I decided I was just going to eat whatever I wanted to eat as long as I wasn't smoking. I gained a ton of weight. And then when I finally decided, okay, it's time, like I'm no longer a smoker, it's time to take the weight off, I heard that running was a good way to do that. And I discovered that, no, I'm not a very good runner, but I do have a gift for long and slow. And kind of the rest is history after that.
So so you said you lost a ton of weight. What was your top weight and how much did you drop and how much are you today?
I don't know. I stopped looking at the scale at 250. But I know I was definitely over that for sure. But I just didn't want to.
Where are you at today?
Today I'm probably in the upper 190s. Probably I'm a little heavier than usually. I usually race about like 185, 190, somewhere around there. Well,
I don't know if you know Vinny Torritz, who's a good friend of mine who has the former Angriest Trainer podcast, but he always says that exercise is a poor way to lose weight and that working on your diet and working on what you eat is very, very important as part of the whole process. And I think if I remember right, don't you work with Meredith Terranova as far as nutrition goes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've worked with Meredith for, like over a year now at this point. Yeah.
So I used to work with her way back in the day. She helped me out. So tell me a little bit about working with her. I know we got off track on how you got into ultra running. You didn't have to go back into that. But since you went into the 2 packs a day and eating plenty of McDonald's and burgers or whatever you were eating, how'd you meet Meredith? How'd you hook up with her? And where does she have you as far as what your daily regimen is on what you consume?
Well, I mean, she just got me really rethinking everything a lot. For me, before, like, I mean, I had still run tons of ultras before starting to work with Meredith. And yeah, I was just eating garbage most of the time. Or I work in a restaurant meals twice a day, you know, because they're free. And yeah, it's still, I think the big thing is just looking at what I'm eating and planning ahead and making more healthier choices, I guess, would be the best thing. But the one thing I really love about Meredith, too, is she really gets you thinking about, like, good or bad food and to realize that there's no such thing as a bad food. You know, there is a time for that McDonald's, you know, maybe not that often, but heck, you know, like during a multi-day race, it's awesome, you know. But yeah, that's the big thing. It's just shifting that kind of perspective on nutrition and eating to fuel your training is the biggest thing, I think.
Is there a difference for you? And does Meredith have you distinguish between eating for training and eating on race day? So is there, you know, what you consume on a regular basis, you know, Monday through Sunday while you're training, is there something different that you do on race day?
Well, I mean, yeah, definitely. Like, race fuel is totally different. And for me, I'm very fortunate as well. I work with Roxanne Vogel and Magda Boulet over at GU Energy Labs for sports nutrition. So yeah, I've been a product tester for them for a couple of years now, and I'm on the ambassador team over there. So really, especially for race nutrition, I've been able to pick their brains and had a lot of great advice from them over the years, and that's super helpful there.
What kind of stuff so besides, you know, you use GU during a race, so let's just take one of the events you did, for example, and you do 48 hours, you do 24 hours, you do 100 milers, and I think you got a 6-day coming up. So all those will have different strategies, but let's take like, Jackpot last year, you did the 48 hour and you did like something like 120 plus miles.
Yeah,
what was your?
That was kind of ugly.
No, that's pretty. Hey, listen, that's pretty good. I was there. I saw you out there. You did just fine. But what was your in those 48 hours? What do you eat? What do you eat and what are you drinking?
You know, I don't really remember, like, Jackpot for me that year. It was like a few weeks after Hurt, and I was super beat up for that. So it wasn't, I remember, my normal race nutrition. Like, I was falling apart very quickly on that one. So I probably jumped into solid food a lot sooner than I normally would. I did a 48-hour a couple of years before that when Summit Tea had just been released. And I ran that one, at least I know, on 90% Summit Tea. And then, and then just
90%. 90%.
Yeah, definitely. That was most of my calories for 2 days. You know, with occasional small meals thrown in just to have something in my stomach. You know, like I would have like a cup of soup or like a hot dog or something going along the way. And then another fun thing I do like to do too on the multi-day races, at least, like there's no way you can go away with this at 100-miler. Milkshakes are a lot of fun out on the course. I just love those. Actually, fun story coming back from that 48 and Davis that I ran is one time on day 2, my wife Karen had went to I think In-N-Out Burger or somewhere and got me like a burger and a shake. And I was actually running along the course, like eating a burger and drinking a shake. And there was like this casual runner out just doing her morning run who was just like giving me the evil eye the whole time because I was like, you know, it was soiling her sport or something by, you know, cruising along eating junk food. It was pretty fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
There's a time for all of that, but
amen. Yeah.
you brought up something interesting, right? So that's your multi-day race, right? And your 6-day race will be course 2. That's in the Dome, right? So that's 6 days in the Dome coming up.
Yeah.
So that's easy access to things that you want. But you've run the Hurt 100, which is, I wouldn't even consider myself worthy enough to start that thing because I'd never make it through that thing.
You know, there's only one way to do it, though.
Yeah, I know. Just go out there and do it. I hear you. I hear you. I preach the same thing, but let me ask you this though. That's a different type of event where you can't carry your tea for those loops, and you're not going to have access to things like milkshakes and In-N-Out Burger until you get back around. So what's Hurt 100 like? Because I've never been out there at all. And I've been invited to come out there. What's it like? You've done it, 9? You've been there 9 times, right?
10 or even 11.
10 or 11. See, that's a lot.
Something like that. Yeah. I've only finished it 3 times, though. It's a beast. And here's the thing, though, too. It kind of go off topic a little bit, is with Hurt, especially, like I've learned, like if you want to do something, throw yourself in there and do it. I first ran it in 2010, and I was way, 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 way out of my league. I finished the 100K right before the course closed for the 100 milers. I think it took me 31 hours or just under 31 hours. And I had, I think, maybe 9 minutes to spare before the course closed. And it was amazing, though. And it really changed myself, and I definitely recommend. I think next year is going to be really hard to get in the race. It's the 20th anniversary, but put your name in. Definitely go for it. And as far as nutrition goes, Hurt's a little different because it's such a tough course because of the heat and because of the climbing. And the 36-hour cutoff seems like a long time, but it's really not. You're under the gun right away. And it's really hard to pace that run well. Like you can't really go out as easy as you would like in a 100-miler. So your stomach kind of goes south very quickly. And I found it Hurt for me. I'll hit Summit T will be most of my calories for the first few loops. And I'll have maybe a nibble or two of like a cookie or something that I'll grab from the aid station on the way up. But the cool thing about this course, too, is it's actually very easy to crew. It's only 3 aid stations. It's a 20-mile loop. And so you have an aid station like every 7 or 5 miles, basically. And so you can get whatever you need from your crew or, be self-supported at the aid station. So that's not an issue, but the intensity is an issue. So I found that usually by the 3rd loop, maybe 4th loop, that your stomach is gone, or mine is at least. And at that point, then I'm pretty much running on only Coke. And that's it. Like I'll pound a Coke at the aid station, which will get me to the top of the hill. And then I'll have Coke in a bottle, one of my water bottles that I'll drink at the top of the hill. That'll get me back down to the bottom to the next aid station. And yeah, that's the nutrition for that one.
Wow, that's great. I mean, would you say that Hurt is the most difficult race that you've ever participated in, or is there one that was more difficult for you? Understanding, of course, the difficulty comes in different varieties, right?
Right.
And I say difficult versus most challenging. Like if you had to say what's the most difficult race you've run as far as course terrain, cutoffs that you're chasing and whatnot versus the most challenging event that you participated in, maybe you had a bad, stomach issues or whatever.
Right,
Is Hurt the most difficult one that you've ever participated in?
Yeah, hands down. I think Hurt is usually an 11 on a scale of 1 to 10. It's rough. Yeah, I've had some pretty stupid events. I had one kind of fun story. Headlands 100 a few years back, I think, was probably my worst event, like my toughest. Just because I went out really hard on that one. My heart rate monitor, I didn't really trust it. It was getting kind of wonky in training. And so at one point I looked down and I'm like, I don't feel like I'm running at a 90% heart rate or 90% max. And so I took it off and started running harder. And the next thing you know, I was leaving a 13-mile trail of puke through the headlands. I even blacked out and it scared the heck out of me. Yeah. But the crazy thing is my coach, Ann Trason, was there helping the crew, and she basically kicked my butt and forced me to get back out on the trail and fix the mistakes I had made and crawl through it. And it really made me a much, much, much stronger runner in the long run. But yeah, that was definitely probably one of the hardest things I've done physically.
Well, I tell you though, between Meredith Terranova and Ann Trason, I don't think you could get much better guidance and advice.
Oh, you know, I mean,
on how to do things.
Yeah, or Magdalena,
Boulet,
yeah, definitely. I've been
Maggie
very
too,
fortunate. Yeah.
Oh, and Maggie too. Let me ask you something that you brought up. You're talking about a heart rate monitor. Does Ann have you training based on heart rate? Do you train and run based on heart rate, or is that something that you just keep track of?
Oh, no. I mean, it's just that's a big Ann thing as well. And heart rate is that she likes to think of that as your best friend. You know. Yeah, I mean, I use my strap for pretty much everything. You know, as long runs, fast runs, just easy recovery runs. The strap's always on. So yeah, I'm always.
Yeah, I'm really interested in that. Only because I used to have Zach Bitter used to train me for a little bit, and Zach is very big on heart rate, on heart rate training. So I tend to do kind of the same thing. Although it seems like for me, on race day, almost everything goes out the window, and I'm more focused on the experience in the moment, and hanging out with people like you and everybody else.
Well, I think that's where using it all the time in training, you get really dialed in with it. So that makes it, and you can get comfortable with those zones the more you use them. In the beginning, it was really kind of tough for me to do that. But I think what really did it for me is Ann had me using the heart rate monitor at the Miwok 100K one year. And after the 50K point, I passed over 100 runners, and I was never passed. And that was all because I had that extra gear because I didn't go out too hard because of my heart rate. So yeah, definitely recommend it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. That's great. And now you have a couple things coming up, right? So you have you're doing Western States this year?
Yeah, stoked for that. It'll be fun.
Have you been there before?
Yeah. I've had some great experiences at Western States. I crewed for Ellie Greenwood for both of her runs, wins / course records there. Crewed for Magda for her second place finish. Just all sorts of fun stuff there. Last year I crewed for Nathan Lehman from Ultra Running Company, who just totally nailed it. I ran it 4 or 5 years ago now. And then, Ann, actually, that was one crazy thing. Ann was my pacer for the last 20 miles. Imagine running Western States with like the 14-time winner of the race, right?
I can't even fathom that. That's incredible.
And it's crazy. Like every time I go to Western States, I'm like, it can't get any better. It can't get any better. And it just does, so it's the big show for sure. So I'm excited. Yeah.
Wow. That's great. I mean, to have her pacing you, I mean, obviously she's one of the idols in ultra running, and I'm assuming that she's one of your idols too, as well.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, though, too, is like we had been working together for quite a while already. As like she's my coach, and at that point, it wasn't running with Ann Trason. It was more just running with my friend Ann, who happened to have been a 14-time winner of the race. The funny thing is, like the whole time, like she wouldn't talk about any of her wins at the event. We'd round a corner and she'd be like, yeah, here's where Kathy D'Onofrio passed me and I couldn't reel her in. I tried, but or man, I really wanted to walk this section in 94. And I was like, finally, like, Ann, enough talk about walking. Let's get moving. Yeah, fun stuff. But yeah, love Ann. She's such a goofball. She's awesome.
So you have Western States in June, and then a couple months later, you're doing 6 days in the Dome, right? Yep. So you got to pretty much turn around and you change your type of training. Has Ann talked to you about how she's going to get you prepared for that?
Well, we've been doing a little back and forth on that because it is totally different beast. For me, I've got we're doing a lot more races going in. I'm going to be running the Marin Ultra Challenge 50 miler and Lake Sonoma 50 as well. leading up to Western. So for me, that's going to be a lot of my hill work, I guess, and trail stuff. But yeah, for the 6-day, that's a totally different intensity, and it's going to need to be a lot more higher volume than training for Western States. So my idea, and we'll see if this is going to work well or not, at least on back-to-back weekends, I'll do something like I'll hit the trail one day, bust out, like a 30-miler or something like that, and then hit the track the next day, which will kind of simulate, like the 6-day event. But yeah, I'm going to need to spend a lot of time running on that track for sure. So.
And then you have to kind of plan for moments where you're going to take a break to sleep. And I mean, 6 days straight through is probably not something that you're aiming to do. So do you have a plan in advance? Are you still working on that as far as how many miles do you want to run each day, or a different time period in which you want to run?
Well, I mean, yeah, unfortunately, I've done enough multi-days. I ran my first 6-day last year, and that was a very eye-opening experience. And I think, I don't know, I lost my pen on day 4. But originally I was trying to keep a log of my sleep time so I could figure that out. But I think I slept for less than 20 hours then, which is, I guess, what the pros do at that one. And then somebody did the math, and I slept, I guess, the second least out of the entire field, which was pretty good for my first 6-day. This time around, I don't know, we'll see how it goes, but I'm hoping to keep nap breaks down to a total of 2 hours a day for days 2 through 6, basically. And then we'll see how that goes. I don't know if I can do that, but my goal would be right now to sleep for 20 minutes every 3 or 4 hours and then keep moving otherwise.
And do you have a mileage goal for those 6 days? What was your mileage the last 6 days, and what's your goal for this 6 days?
It was 6 days at the fair, and it was 303 miles there. And I know I could do a lot better than that. I didn't bring a crew because it was my first, and I was like, I just didn't want to go through all that, for something, a run that may or may not be amazing. And that course, there was a lot of crazy weather on that. It was either super hot or humid or thunderstorms. There was actually a tornado that touched down a mile away, I guess. So the weather was a weird factor. The course itself, it doesn't really lend itself well to being self-supported. Like the aid station is a good 50 to 100 feet off the course. So every time you want to stop for something, you would have to go, you would gain, 100 feet, 200 feet, whatever, which adds up over the course of 6 days. So that made things a little kind of slower for me. So yeah, I think I can do better than that. The weather won't be a factor at Dome, and there won't be. I'm going to have a crew, hopefully for the whole 144 hours, so I won't have to stop unless I want to stop. So yeah, I'm dreaming 500 miles right now. We'll see how that goes and how training goes, but 500 is what they consider a world-class 6-day performance. So that's my goal right now.
Incredible.
Amazing.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's, I think it's doable though at this point, especially after the 3 last year. It's just, my body's built up enough. I think the big thing is going to be not stopping, and not letting sort of injury get in the way. Although it's interesting, the further you go, the more the definition of injury changes. If I was having bad tendonitis issues, then that would probably pull me out of a 50-miler. But for a 6-day, it's kind of like, okay, well, we got to figure out how to fix this, and keep going. So yeah, different world.
Well, you're going to have tremendous, as opposed to, you could take it from its least extreme, right? You're talking about a marathon, you hit the wall at mile 20. A 100-miler, you could hit about 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or more walls when you're running a 100-miler. In a 6-day race, you could go through a myriad of ups and downs in all sorts of ways, and whether it's, stomach issues, bathroom issues, food issues, sleep deprivation. How do you deal with these issues as they come up, whether it's in a 6-day or a 100-miler or even a 50-miler? What do you use for inspiration when times are tough and you need to push through? Anything in particular?
Experience. Knowing that you've done it before and have survived makes a huge difference. Really, I like to tell myself that it's mind over matter. And if you don't mind, it doesn't matter. And really, it's that easy.
So Ann's got you training. Obviously you're training for multiple things right now. The 50 miler coming up at Sonoma Western and then 6 days. What's your typical training week look like with her?
It depends where we're at. But yeah, there's usually the staples. There's maintenance runs. We do a lot of double and triple days. Hill repeats. We like to do more focused training for particular events as well. Ann's really good at coming up with good workouts that mimic a lot of the specific challenges of whatever race. And then, as we're building this block, we're both really focused on a lot of time on my feet and long runs at very low intensity.
Generally, how many miles a week? And if you have an understanding, it might differ time to time, but in general,
right?
How many miles a week on average?
We're all over the place, to be honest. And it really depends because I do race so often that we both have to be very in tune with where I'm at and how my body's responding. And if I'm super tired or if I'm responding well. This week is probably going to be just over 80 miles. And then, as we build to Dome, I'd really like to get my mileage up a lot as we go, but really it depends. The big thing is if the training is going well or not, and if my body's responding. Like shooting for numbers just for numbers' sake probably isn't the best idea. So. Yeah,
more quality over quantity is what it should be more about, you think?
Yeah, or at least more, having productive runs. Like if it means, like if I can only do 100-mile week, then okay, 100-mile week is great, but if I can, and especially, gearing up for a 500-mile run, I'd like to do a lot more if I can. But you do what makes you stronger. If you're going to beat yourself up and not seeing any return for it, there's no use in doing that run. I don't need to build mental toughness on this. I just need to get stronger and faster. So.
Right. So that brings up an interesting question for me. 100-mile weeks, you train a lot, you do a lot, you do a tremendous amount, according to your ultra sign up of runs. And like between, starting in 2011 and 12, you're doing 16 ultras just that you could find on ultra sign up. 17 in 2014, and I think you were at Hurt also and a DNF there on that year. So how do you? So we probably should have started with this. Mm-hmm. What do you do for real? Like, what's your day? What do you do for your day job, if anything?
Oh, well, actually, that's kind of cool. I'm a waiter by profession at Nopalito here in San Francisco. It's a organic, sustainable grandma's recipe Mexican place. And so the cool thing is I'm on my feet all the time, which I think really kind of helps with recovery. I walk, actually I've mapped it out. I walk no less than 6 miles a day at work. So that kind of helps with the recovery aspect.
In addition to your training. So you're training you'll train during the morning, you'll head out to work, put in another 6 miles.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, it's, I don't count. I mean, that's just walking, but it does help like keep your legs moving for sure. And then I try and run home at the end of the night too. Usually my run commute home isn't that special, but that's a slog by the end of the day. But I usually try and keep moving as much as possible. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Actually, I thought of another question I wanted to ask you, which is quite interesting because we're talking about Ann, who is just wonderful. And I got a chance to talk to her at the Jackpot race last year when she was in the 48-hour and I think she was going to stop, and I kind of convinced her to do another lap. I kind of threw my daughter into it and said, "My daughter looks up to you," or something like that. And then she kind of rolled her eyes, kind of rolled her eyes at me with this like, "Are you kidding me? I got to go do another freaking lap for this idiot." Right. So, which is typical Ann, right? But,
right.
But what's really cool though is, so you were in that 48-hour race as well. along with Ann. So what was that like, having your mentor, your coach, and somebody that you look up to in the same race with you, and especially a race like Jackpot, where it's a small loop. There's some portions that are two-way traffic, so you get to see her quite a bit over a 48-hour period.
Oh yeah. I even took the time, like after the wheels started to come off, I took the time and walked a lap or so with her as well. But yeah, it was really nice. It was kind of fun to have her, like, cheering for me and, giving me advice as I'm flying by. And it was good in a sense too. It was great for her to see where I am and what I'm really doing on these courses. Cause we'll analyze races after the fact and be like, okay, well, I was hitting this like this and I was doing this like this. And then when she saw that, she was like, okay, so this is what we're going to need to do, for fair. And this is how we're going to train, and this is what I'm seeing, and this is what we're going to change, and whatever. So that actually worked out well. The fun thing is we'll see if she's going to do it, but she's actually signed up for 6 days in the Dome as well. So
that's great.
Yeah, so we'll have her out on the course, and then she ran either the 48 or the 72-hour event at 6 days at the fair as well. So yeah, that was fun too. But for the most part, you get into race mode and you just kind of do your thing, So for me, like, we fine-tuned the plan enough before the race that I just really just kind of stick to the plan. And there's not so much coaching that's going on. It's just kind of hanging out with a friend out on the course.
That's great. What do you do during these long races, especially, so the 48 hours and longer, the 6 days or the 3 days, as far as, are you listening to music? You listen to podcasts, books on tape, obviously chatting up with people that and that you're kind of reuniting with from a prior event. How do you get through that? And what do you do with respect to listening to things?
Well, it's funny because, I've been the host producer of Running Stupid for, we're in our 12th season now. But crazily enough, I don't really listen to podcasts when I run. I find it's a little too distracting for me. I can't really focus on the conversation and the story and left, right, and repeat at the same time. So yeah, I do listen to a lot of music. My MP3 player has like a good 4-day playlist that doesn't repeat. It's crazy. A lot of Ozzy and a lot of Prong for especially the shorter stuff. And then, just usually I like to just kind of keep rocking it out or just stay quiet. I do enjoy talking to other runners sometimes, but a lot of times I'm usually just too focused, and it's like I would rather hang out at the finish line and then chat over a beer and then talk on the course.
Tell us a little bit about your podcast. You mentioned it once or twice, Running Stupid. It's been around, since like 2008?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. What do you, I've never listened to it and I will now.
Oh, cool.
What's it about? I know you have some big guests on there. I think Ann's been on there before with you. Tell us a little bit about that podcast.
I started it originally, pardon me, in 2008 as a way to train or to keep me accountable for my training for the North Face Endurance Challenge 50 miler, which was my first big race. And originally it was just kind of more like an audio blog, and then it just kind of took off a little bit, and I kind of changed things around. Like I still do a lot more, like use it as a blog, and do like a lot of race reports and things like that. But then, I have a lot of fun doing interviews as well, and I've had a lot of great interviews on there. Folks like front of the pack folks like, Jeff Rose was on the show. Magda, Ann, Ellie Greenwood, tons of people there to like mid and back of the pack heroes of mine. Tammy Massey is one of my favorites out there.
Oh, Tammy's great.
Such
Tammy's
a great
I've known
energy.
Tammy for years.
Yeah. And that's it's more, I don't know. Yeah. These days it's more of a, I think, slick kind of show than it is a blog, but I still try and keep that blog aspect to it as well.
That's great. I'm looking now. I see you had Nick Holland on there. I love Nick Holland and Peter Deft. You had Peter Defty on there. That must have been a great talk about nutrition and stuff like that. That's great.
A lot of info there.
People on that.
A lot of info on that for sure.
And Ken, time to time you have Mrs. Coach Ken on the podcast as well.
Oh yeah. Although she's kind of now Karen again these days. We kind of dropped that, but yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to the episodes where you guys were kind of tracking her 100-miler. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Oh man, and that was it was so cool with that. Like she just really executed that one so well. I mean, it's just for me, I've seen very few. Like I mean, I've been to a lot of 100-milers, and I've seen very few very well executed 100-mile runs. Ellie's Western States the second time around. The first time she ran Western States was actually really up and down, and we weren't even sure she'd be able to finish. But the second time she ran, she just checked the boxes, start, check, done, piece of cake. And that was pretty much Karen's Rio Del Lago run. Is like she just did everything totally by the book, had an amazing run. She really, I mean, if she hit any low spots, I didn't see them for sure. And that was it. She just had a great time. Done. 100-mile finished.
Wow.
So that was awesome.
Yeah,
I was really proud of that.
Yeah. Congrats to her. Congrats to you guys as a couple. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
So what's that like as a couple? You both are interested in, you both do ultra running, which is great. And you know, like for me, I have my family, although my whole family has come out and crewed me at Badwater several times, but none of my girls, my two daughters and my wife, participate in ultra events or seem to have any interest whatsoever in running much longer than 5K or 5 miles. So what's it like to have a partner that's in it with you? And you guys do any races together where you go from start to finish as a couple?
I don't think we've ever done start to finish as a couple. We're usually in two different places within our running. Karen, she once she did Rio now, I want to say that was 3 years ago. Like she kind of stopped. Like she ran a couple other events here and there. And she's building back into it. But she doesn't, I mean, especially compared to like my super high volume, she doesn't, really run that often. We do go for occasional training runs together. Like we went out for Valentine's Day, had a nice run. That was awesome. But for the most part, she's usually my amazing rock star crew at races, and she's got it so dialed in. She's crewed me for more events than I can count. Every year at Hurt, she's been there, for instance, Western States, she was there, and so I think that's more where our ultra running relationship kind of really goes is like as, runner and crew. Although it's awesome that, she does run a little bit and knows what's happening out there. It makes a difference for sure.
That's great. Is she coming to the Dome with you?
No. Or maybe on the back end, we'll see about that. I discovered like at Fair that maybe that wouldn't be the best event to have her out there, just because I really beat myself into the ground, and it's difficult for me to see her like that, and it was difficult, I think, for her to see me so beat up as well. And yeah, so I think what I'm doing is I do have some friends local that are hopefully going to come out and crew for me there out in Wisconsin. And yeah, maybe if it works out, Karen will be able to fly out for the last day or so. But I think the best thing for both of us at this would be for me just to do my thing and let her not be worried or concerned about me out there.
Well, if you come back out to New Jersey for any of those races at the fair, let me know, because I'm not more than an hour or so from there. I'll come out there and
sweet,
run a few loops with you.
Sweet.
I think they have a 10-day out there now.
They do, yeah. First year. Well, I think it's kind of an anniversary thing too. I don't know if they're going to make it a usual thing, but yeah, I want to go out there and have a better run for sure. I don't know when though, but yeah, if I do, I would love to bring a crew and just really do it right now that I know what I'm doing a little more.
Yeah, let me know if you do come out here. That'd be really cool. Have you ever had have you ever thought about doing these self-transcendence races in New York City, the 3,100-mile race?
That's
like that?
It's on the list. It's one of those things. I definitely would need to just commit to it and do it, right? But there's always so many events. And usually, like, there's like the certain events, like every year, like Hurt, I've been very fortunate to get into Hurt for like 10, 11 years. And Hurt is always like my big key race. And so it's like, how do I wiggle things in around that? And I don't know. We'll see, maybe seeing how Dome goes, maybe I do want to explore longer next year, or I don't know, but one day, I definitely want to go out there and try it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. It's great that you've been able to do Hurt so many years in a row. I think you and I might have gotten into ultra running almost around at the same time, in the early 2007 or 8 or something like that, 6, 7 or 8, somewhere in that area.
Somewhere, 2008, I think.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And back then, though, I mean, at least my take is that it was much different. It wasn't a lot of these events that you are now filling up in like 6 minutes or 5 minutes or 4 minutes. We didn't have that problem back then. If you wanted to go out and run, Umstead 100, for example, you would just go, you'd fill out the piece of paper and sign up and you'd be perfectly fine. Like nowadays, to get into that race, if you're not at your computer hitting your button 37 times, a second, you're not getting into that. What's the difference to you? What are some of the differences that you've seen since you began running ultramarathons to today?
Well, I've seen, like waves, like there's booms. I think we're kind of actually receding in the sport a little bit right now. Like I think the Born to Run boom is over. So we're just waiting for the next wave. But I mean, things, it did kind of explode. It's kind of cool. I think runners win that way. Because there are so many events out there. And there's so many lottery events though too. I think back, when we first started, Tony, there were there was one lottery that I can remember, Western States, right?
Yeah, Western. I think so. I don't remember any others. Yeah,
and that's it. Like, and if Hurt, for instance, if Hurt was a lottery when I first started, I would have never have run Hurt. Because I'd probably, or maybe I would have, I don't know, maybe I would have put my name in, but I'd probably be like, well, I wouldn't want to take up a slot from somebody who probably do better than I would, and it's great though too, because I think Hurt really made me who I am today. So I don't know. Yeah, that's a weird little conundrum there with like the lotteries, and because a lot of these events, you can only fit so many people on these courses, right? So it's still it's a crazy thing, but I think really though, for the most part, like we've learned a lot, especially these days, like leaps and bounds. There was a time early in our careers where if you had a nutrition question, still like the best thing to do would be to show up at a race. Now I can pop into like 600 different forums and be like, get 600 different answers, about, hey, what's the best to eat? What's best to eat? Whatever. And so, I don't know. It's pretty cool, I think. I love that it's booming like that.
Yeah, I think the boom is great. I think the boom is great, and I think there are some things about the boom that makes it a little bit frustrating. And like we said, we went from easily being able to go sign up for an event and participating in it to becoming so popular that not only do you have lotteries, but you have qualifiers now, right? And a lot of these races didn't have qualifiers before, where you have to. Maybe you had to run 100, but now there are some events that not only do you have to run 100, but you have to run one of these 7 or these 20 or these particular events to get into them. And I think it's frustrating thing, but it's a good thing. It shows that the popularity of the sport has grown. But I mean, I think you're right. Back when I started, and I think the only lotteries there were Western State and then Badwater. You had to apply to get into those two. I remember going first. Have you ever done? You've been out to Javelina, haven't you?
Yeah.
So I went out to Javelina way back, not way back, but back far enough where like in 2008 when you could park right at the start finish.
Yeah.
And there was no busing. And today, they've got different starts, different events, and you have to get bussed in from some remote parking lot. I mean, it's still a great event, run really well, really awesome. It's a great course. It's so much fun, but just so different from the 2006, 7, and 8 time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing too, is that like certain events are getting really, really, really big, and then, for instance, locally, the North Face Endurance Challenge here in San Francisco, originally it had just like this amazing course that, went over like all of the beautiful single track in the Marin Headlands. And now, just because of the size and impact, like you can't even look at the single track on that course. It's just, so that's definitely changed things a lot for sure. Yeah.
Do you think it's gotten to a certain degree too big and too corporate, or do you think the progression of it is just about right? And you look at some of these. I think it was a Leadville Trail 100 a few years back, and it's the first year that it was purchased by a bigger company. They let in more people in it. I heard stories that it was very crowded on the course, especially in the single track section. Do you think it's gotten too big and too corporate, or do you think the progression is just about right?
I think, it's, you're going to have growing pains no matter what, especially as more people are learning about the sport and getting excited about it, then it's so many people are drawn to it. No, I'm going to go with it's a good thing in the long run. In certain events, when you did have Lifetime buying out Leadville, for instance, it definitely struggled a little bit. But I think they've kind of, from what I've heard, I haven't run it, but I think they've kind of got it a little more dialed in. And then you have like going back to Hurt, most people don't know this, but when Lifetime bought Leadville, they actually made a very lucrative multi-million-dollar bid to Hurt as well to buy that one. And the kind of fun thing there is the mission statement for the Hawaiian Ultra Running team is no profits, no assholes. And they said, hey, you know what? That's not what we want this event to be. We don't want this to be a money-making machine. We don't want it, we want it to be a low-key, hey, we're having fun out in the hills, getting people that we love out to push themselves and have a good time. And so that's always going to be there, I think. And I think the ethic in, events like Hurt and so many other races out there that are, I don't know, I hesitate to use the term old school, but they do kind of have that old school ethic, that, hey, we do this because we love it kind of thing, and I think a lot of instances too is 9 times out of 10 races aren't going to be making money, period, much less much money. And you do have a lot of race directors, for instance, John Menninger, when he was running Lake Sonoma, same thing. He turned around any money he made from that event, turned around and donated. And I think that ethic is still going to be there with most of the runs, because that's what we love to do.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's a great, that's definitely a great thing and a great part of the sport. I mean, I always love in the sport how helpful everybody is with everybody. And if whether you're out on a course or you have a question, you can always write or talk to even the most elite runners to get their opinion or their advice on something. So it's someone like you who's been doing this a lot and for a while. Someone came to you and asked you and said, I'm thinking about getting into ultra running. You got any advice for me? What would you tell them?
Do it.
Simple and sweet, right?
Yeah. Don't think about it. Just jump, and I think that's it. It's don't be afraid to fail, because I think failure is your best teacher, and so get in there and just, give it everything you have. And then if you come up short, then keep going, find a way, keep training, keep pushing, build yourself and rise to the challenge is the big thing, instead of doing things that feel safe and easy. No, make the leap. If you want to tackle a beast like Hurt, then jump in, put your name in the lottery, go for it. And if you really want to do it, then go down and volunteer for a couple of years, get some kukui nuts, and then, go run the race, Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Any particular race or event that you haven't done yet that's like top of your list that you want to do?
Wow. I don't know. It's crazy. I do end up running a lot of the same events all the time. There's a lot that I would love to go out there and run, but right now, like I would say, Dome is really the one I'm super excited about. I think. I mean, I don't know. I think if it wasn't for the timing, I would probably want to go run 6 days at the fair. But with Hurt being, like a couple weeks after that, that's just never going to happen.
What about anything overseas, like any of the races that were like Comrades Marathon or some of the ones or Marathon des Sables or something like that? Some of the stage races overseas, or some of the big races that are out of the country.
Yeah, crazily enough, like the stage racing doesn't really appeal to me. I'd rather try and go straight through if I'm going to go for 200 miles, right? I don't know. They have that is that Delirious West 200 going on in Australia, like right now as we speak. That look pretty cool. And then there's a few other fixed time events that I've been kind of thinking like, hey, that'd be kind of cool to do. But if I was going to go overseas to run a race, I'd probably want it to be a really big one, something or a long distance one for sure. Like I wouldn't want to go for something less than 24 hours or anything.
Oh, sure. You should think about and take a look into the Brazil 135 because it gives you kind of an opportunity to see parts of Brazil that you probably would never see if you had just flown into Rio or Sao Paulo and just stayed there. It's a really cool event, and it's definitely a very, very challenging event on the Camino de Fe as well. So I think you might like that one. I think that might be right up your alley.
Maybe on the list at some point. That's still a little close to Hurt is the big thing, and I think I really learned my lesson, especially at Jackpot last year. Is like I need to give myself a little more time after Hurt. And like that's. I like really the 100-mile finish there has been harder on my body than any 200-mile. Like it's just it's a little too rough, and I usually need at least a month off before I can start doing anything again.
Oh wow! And is that an event, Hurt, that you plan on running every single year that you're able to get into that race? Is that one of the ones?
Yeah, lottery gods willing.
You're not going to give up.
Yeah, no.
Right.
I mean, it's my favorite event in the world. And honestly, we already have our house booked for next year already.
Wow.
We're planning. Yeah, I've got the vacation time already guaranteed at work. We're going there no matter what, so if I don't get picked in the lottery, I'll still be out there volunteering and pacing or whatever. But yeah, that one is a huge part of who I am. And I wouldn't miss that for the world. So.
That's great. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, Ken, I don't think I have much more for you. I appreciate you coming on here. I don't want to take up too much of your time either.
I love it. Thank you.
We're kind of just learning the ropes here, Ruel and I, trying to kind of just dive into it without a plan or anything like that. But I had a little game that I wanted to play with you before we let you go. It's kind of like a word association, right? So I'll just throw out like 2 words, and you got to pick. You pick one or the other as quickly as fast as you can. Not a lot of them, just a couple of them, and maybe some sneaky ones in there too. But maybe some sneaky ones in there too. We'll see how you do. Obviously, it's not going to be Hurt or something else because Hurt's going to come out of your mouth first. Obviously.
Well, you don't know. Let's see.
I don't know. Let's see. I only got a couple, so let's see how we go. All right, you ready?
All right. Yep.
We'll play the game. All right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
But you gotta be quick. Trail or road?
Trail.
Dean Karnassus or Pam Reed?
Ooh, let's go, Dean.
See, there you go. Come on now.
Yeah, let's go, Dean.
All right, it's a tough one now. Hammer or goo?
Goo, definitely. That's not tough at all. I'm a goo athlete.
That's it, trying to catch you. Smart wool or dry max?
Oh, once again, dry max.
Sundog or Ray-Ban?
Oh, Sundog, definitely all the way.
There you go. That's perfect. That's perfect. I couldn't catch you on those last three. I like the Dean or Pam one.
Yeah, trying to get me in trouble. Huh? Which, by the way, Dean owes me a milkshake. Gosh darn it! Is that
right?
Yeah. We had a little bet at the Headlands 100 last year, and unfortunately he fell and hurt himself and had to drop out of the race. But that still counts. So I beat Dean at Headlands, so he owes me a milkshake. So
hey, it counts. I haven't seen Dean in quite a while, but he's a good guy. I think the last time I saw him was at Badwater a while back. But he's a good guy for sure. But no, it was a fun game. I'll fine tune it a little bit better. But
no, that's great.
Well, listen, Ken, it was really good having you on the show. Where can people find you online? Your podcast. Remind people what your podcast is and all that. Stuff.
Thank you. Running Stupid. It's free in the iTunes store if you're interested and want to subscribe. It's just look up Running Stupid. There's a link on runningstupid.net to the Libsyn page. You can find me on Facebook, of course, and there's an ultra running group on Facebook that I've managed, and I'm really happy to connect with people there as well. Just look up Ultra Running on Facebook, and boom, yeah. I think those are the best way to get in touch, and I hope you enjoyed the show.
Maybe we'll have you back on after you run 6 days, and hear about your experience with that. That'd be great to hear all about that and how you ended up training for it, how it prepared you, and how it went for you. That'd be great to have you back on August. Actually, how about we'll do it on like September 1st, like the last day.
Is that is that the last day of the race?
I guess. Well, it starts August 25th, right? So you go the 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, and the 30th. So maybe we'll give you a day off, and then
I might need a little time after.
I'll be back on. We'll give you 1 day to rest. Right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll be a total vegetable. Actually, that was kind of crazy when I ran the first 6 day. I mentally, I kind of snapped a little bit, probably from the pushing myself too hard and the fatigue. And it got really weird. Like somewhere toward the middle of the last day, like all of a sudden, I couldn't make decisions to save my life. And it lasted for a couple of days. Like it was really weird. Like Karen and I went out to a restaurant and I just handed her the menu and I said, I can't do this. Pick something think I would enjoy. Like it's not going to happen. I could stare at this menu for hours. It's not going to work. I'm going to be totally, if things go according to plan, I'm going to be a total vegetable by the end of this run. So
might be the perfect time to have you on. Might be the perfect time to have you on.
Then I would be answering Hammer and Ray-Ban, right?
No, we'll catch you. We'll catch you on some of those for sure. And listen, your sponsor should be very proud of you because you passed.
Thank you.
With flying colors.
Thank you very, very much. And yeah, best of luck with the new show. I can't wait to see where it goes for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, we'll give it a good try and we'll see how it goes. And we're lucky to have a whole bunch of sponsors. Actually, we have none. So we'd like to thank those 0 sponsors right now for helping us out with the show.
We're like Hurt. No profit, no ass. Well, I don't know about the no assholes part, but definitely no profit.
Perfect.
No profit. Just a couple of assholes talking to on the podcast.
Oh, that's horrible.
That's all it is.
Here's the thing, though, too. With Running Stupid in the very beginning, I was the same way. I used to do a regular segment featuring sponsors that the show didn't have. But over the years, I mean, you keep plugging at it, and it changes, And if that's something you want, and you want to build that brand, and it definitely can be done, for sure.
That's great. We're hoping to have great people on like you, and
thank you.
And listen to stories and hear how people do what they do, and 'cause it's amazing stuff. What you do and how you do it, and it's really inspirational to a lot of people, and it's always fun seeing you at events, and you're always smiling. So
I try.
It's been great having you. You do really well. So
well, thank you.
It's been great having you on, and as always, this was like podcast number 6, so we don't always do it, but we finished by paying the check. We pay the check at the Ultra Diner, and
check, please.
As is tradition, all guests have to pay the full freight of the check, the tip as well.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you.
Well, in that case, yeah, the coffee is on me.
Perfect. I ordered a few more things in between questions. So sorry about
Have you had the pie?
Put it on my tab. Yeah. I hear the pies are really good. Oh, I love it. Sweet. Well, yeah.
Well, it was great having you. Great having Ken
you.
Michal on, and we really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on.
Yeah, thanks so much, and thanks for the opportunity, and it was a pleasure. We'll do it again soon.
Absolutely.
Okay. Take care, guys.
All right. So this is where you'll cut it, right, Ruel? This will be.
Let me cut the recording.
All right. On behalf of Tony Portera, I am Ruel Abadam signing out. Thanks for spending time in the breezy spoon of ultra running, the Ultra Diner. The music that you heard at the top of the show and that you're hearing now at the end is the song Candy Wine by the band Dorothy Lane. Dorothy Lane is a band out of Martinez, California. And I wanted to thank them for being able to share their music on this podcast. So please do check out dorothylanemusic.com for more about the band, more about their music, where they're performing, follow them on social, and most importantly, support the band, buy their music, and share. Thanks, Dorothy Lane, and thanks, Diners, for tuning in and stopping by.
Hey.
I was like, you can cut all this stuff out until we actually start, right? And then do you have like introduction music?
Yeah, that gets all edited in. You don't listen to the show. You should listen to the last episode in 1.5 speed.
Fuck that. I was listening actually to a really good podcast.
Service Guide podcast?
For my 22 plus mile run.
Wow.
What was I listening to? I listened to, where's my fucking iTunes? I was listening to, where is it? It's called The Dropout. It's about Elizabeth Holmes, who founded Theranos and was doing blood tests. She's facing up to like 20 years in prison, right? So she developed what she said was this device that instead of having a big needle take all this blood and then have to go send it off for a bunch of blood tests, it's a pinprick machine. And she was putting them in Walgreens. Unfortunately, it didn't work. So they bought like regular machines to test shit. Like they weren't even using a machine. So.
Oh wow!
Pretty funny.
One big scam.
Yeah. That is right. One big scam. One after another.
You gonna take care of the intro?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Like that?
Yeah.
What kind of music do you have?
I have a friend who has a band in Martinez, California. I use the music for the intro.
All right.
Yeah, they're I don't know if they're like a punk or rockabilly, kind of rock. They're a rock band.
All right. Fair enough.
Welcome. Yeah.
All right. Right on.
Just waiting for him to roll in.
What? I'm looking at your little notes thing.
Ooh. Okay, let's see. Can I have a dial-in? Actually, okay. I'm gonna. Cool. 1 sec. Okay. I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna three-way him into the call. So I'm gonna put you on hold for a second. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Oh. Let's see. Add call.
I'm using computer audio. levels
Is that Ken?
seem to be about right. Check 1 2 2 1. Check.
This guy's like a pro podcaster on the other side. He's
Yeah.
1 2. Not like us.
Yeah, get my levels. How's it going?
Good. How's it going, Ken? This is Ruel.
Yeah, good. How you feeling after Chabot?
I feel normal now.
Normal.
Yeah, I'm good.
Good.
What is Chabot? Is that like some kind of yoga or something? What is that? Is that like a hot yoga? What is Chabot? What is
that? It was
that?
a race last week in Lake Chabot.
Oh,
In the
never heard of it.
The Oakland Hills. Whoa. Yes, Ruel and I were out there on the course last week or Saturday.
Oh, Chabot, like Chabot.
You got it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So that's like Chabot. That's like Chabot. you special people, we're drinking your tea with your pinky finger in the air. It's Lake Chabot. Right?
Totally.
Okay. I see how that works.
Lake
Exactly how that works.
Yeah.
I'm assuming when you go shopping, you go to Target, not Target.
Oh, definitely Target for sure.
Yeah, there you go. Excellent. All right, so do you want to get started?
Yeah.
Well, do I have to do this
right.
introduction?
Yes, you do, sir.
So it's like do like funny music coming on, right? All right, so we're ready to start. When do you want to start? Tell me when I can go.
Okay, you can go.
This is another Coffee with Heavy Cream production.